Today's guest is Amanda Bacic, who is a holistic fertility and hormone coach who helps women decode their blood work, balance their hormones, and conceive naturally. Through holistic methods, she now guides others to uncover the root causes behind their fertility struggles, combining science, mindset, and nutrition through her practice, Restored Health. So, Amanda, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Jasco. Nice early morning in Australia, but
Yep,
I'm
yep.
awake.
I was even telling you the same thing, off air. I'm like, out of all the things for you to do in the morning, I mean, I don't know if you've had coffee yet, but I'm like, to choose this one, I feel very honored. So I will try to make this the best experience for you possible, given the fact that it's 6 a.m. for you right now. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, I usually don't wake up until my kids wake up and they're still asleep.
Okay. Okay. Well, I will try to make this then the
I'm
best experience
excited.
for you. So awesome. Okay. So I know you are in obviously a very supportive role supporting, women and couples through their fertility journey. This is where you get to flip the script and basically be supported. So I know we talked a little bit about, what you're here for prior to going on air. But if you can articulate into your own words, what do you think I can best support you with today?
Look, I guess I've been through quite a bit in my life, and there's certain roadblocks that get you in terms of your mindset. And as much as you can tell people, my clients of, affirmations and positive mindsets, it's sometimes it can be difficult to, navigate yourself certain things. I feel like I get roadblocked a little bit when things get going really well. And it might just be also, it's really hard for me to manage my energy sometimes. So I'm a mother of two, and this is also my part-time job. So I do look after my little guys. And then I do, when they go to sleep, I do my, admin work and I try to do Zoom calls in between during the day. So it's really hard to manage my energy and manage also, I think, you know, I I definitely know I do self-sabotage a little bit.
Okay,
So it'd be really interesting to have, yeah, this chat and see what gets uncovered and go from there.
perfect. So I know you also did the stress driver assessment prior to coming on here. And a lot of the things that were identified around that one, pretty much like your highest dimension was when I look at it now came down to fear. So having a lot of kind of fearful patterns around anything from, future, past, success, failure, just like everything seems to be kind of rooted in this driver of fear. And then a lot of the other ones came down to like visibility or, your interactions with other people. So I know you mentioned self-sabotage, but when I just reflect back to you, kind of what came up in the assessment, how do you respond to kind of that combination?
Um, Sorry, can you word that again?
Yeah, no problem. So basically what I'm getting at is you have a whole lot of awareness with regards to a lot of these patterns. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of them seem to be rooted around fear. So different way to ask that is how do you see the fear manifest in terms of things that like you mentioned the blocks, I get really concerned, etc. Like how does it specifically manifest for you?
I think when things go really well in my business, I feel like I just take a little step back. I just get a little bit anxious. Uh, I can appear really confident, but in certain aspects, I do get quite, yeah, I think I push myself back. Sometimes when I get really, really forward, I kind of take a couple steps back. And it definitely is a fear of success. Like I'm confident, I know where I need to go, but it just kind of, I pull myself back a little bit every time I get in a really good position.
Okay. And if you want to just like, are you okay with sharing an example of like what that would be? Like I'm starting to make a lot of money or, something else is happening that's good, like I'm getting traction, X, Y, Z. Like what does it look like for you specifically?
Yeah, it's, when I get a lot of clients and I get collaborations and things are all working well, I think I tend to I end up focusing on something else in my life and kind of push it back a little bit. And it definitely would be, the back of my mind, a fear of what if that doesn't go right or how people perceive me, that little bit of fear.
Okay. So how will people
And then I
perceive
notice
me?
it, and I get to a point where I notice it, and then I steer my energy back towards my business, and it's kind of a bit of a yo-yo sometimes.
Got it. Okay. And then just to make sure that I'm clear, when you say how will people perceive me, that's when I am doing well. Is that the concern?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you did ask yourself to answer that question, how would they perceive you?
I I guess I get a little bit of a fear because when you go through an holistic route, it's some people can perceive you a little bit differently. I've done a lot of study and a lot of things that I use and practice is self-taught. So I can't go to someone and say I have a PhD or a medical degree. And I guess that's what makes me second guess myself sometimes because it can depend who you're in front of, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
It does. So initially you mentioned like I pull back when things are going well. And now it seems like, well, part of it is also I'm concerned how people perceive me even before we get started working together or just in conversation. Like, is that accurate or no?
Yeah, it can be. It can be.
Okay.
I do, I do definitely in the back of my head second guess myself at times.
Okay. And do you have evidence to support that second guessing?
No.
Okay.
No, I always have people say I'm knowledgeable. They always love interactions. I've never had, a client that hasn't succeeded in where they need to go. So I have no reason to feel that way.
Got it. So reality is telling you one thing, but a part of you can't believe reality.
Yeah,
Okay.
very true.
Got it. So, well, A, is that something that's kind of a new realization for you, or like, yeah, I'm aware of that, and we're just kind of getting the context.
I am getting a lot more aware of it and a lot more better dealing with it. But it'd probably be the last few years when I started my business. A few years ago, I don't think I would have even thought of trying to start my own business.
Okay. So this came,
I had quite a lot of confidence issues, uh, yeah, growing up.
got it. Okay. And how do you define confidence?
Just speaking your mind. Like honestly, I used to be the shyest kid when I was little, and even like high school. Um, yeah, boys used to call me mouth because I just wouldn't speak that much. I would always take the back fence in conversations.
Okay, got it. So, given your history and your brain's interpretation of it, confidence to you basically means expression.
True.
Okay. So I think it's really important because confidence is this like umbrella that we use to define so many different aspects of ourselves, right? But I
Mm.
think what you are sharing here is what I'm actually concerned about is expression and potentially how I will be perceived in that expression. Is that accurate for you or no?
Yeah, true.
Okay. And when we look at what you were talking about before with regards to like the credibility aspect, to me, the through line there is also expression. I don't have the traditional credentials, therefore, if I express, I'm also concerned how I will be perceived.
Yeah, true.
Okay,
Makes
perfect.
sense.
So when you look at all of these things, you now have expression, as one pattern. And you also mentioned if things go well, I get anxious and I step back. So is that because the success is now going to require more expression from you, or is that something else?
It definitely would be expression. I'm not sure if it's something else as well.
Okay. So how does expression manifest there?
Uh, I guess, the space I'm in, it does involve a lot of expression. Like my main platform is social media, and what my business is to be is my face as my brand, and to be able to communicate and speak in a bigger audience, and share touch as many women as I can to help. So it is, I kind of put myself self in a deep end. I have issues with expressing, but my goal is to express as much as possible.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I've said this many times, even on the podcast too. It's like if you want to do real personal development, like start a business, get into a conscious relationship, or have kids. Those are the three arenas where like you're really gonna get to like
Yeah, I'm
practice
in
the
all
build.
three.
Yeah, exactly. So
Full
you are
throttle.
checked 100%. Okay, perfect. So in that case, and I know I'm coming back to this because I don't think, at least for me, it's not as clear yet. I asked you, okay, well, if things are going well, I kind of get anxious and I step back. How is that related to expression for you? Where your brain went to was, well, I'm the face of my brand. I need to express if I want to impact more people. Okay, that's cool. I can see where the visibility aspect of expression comes in there. So what about the actual things going well? I guess let's just start with there. Like, how do you define when things go well, I step back? Like, give me an example of that.
Um, Look, right now, I've got really good traction. I'm getting really good brand awareness, and I'm starting to get really good in collaborations. So I've had quite a few collaborations coming in where, the product aligns with my business, and I can, you know, show that to my clients, and get, obviously with finding products that work that I can help my clients, it's also really good brand awareness as well, because I can, promote through their work as well. And I've looked and I found, a women's health app as well that I'm looking to collaborate with. I just had a conversation with a few days ago, and she's really excited to work with me and build, a contest where we can use her, health app, and I can provide my service. Now, I've gone through that. I've looked, expressed myself really confident. She loves the idea. And now that it's going forward, I've just got my little setback in my mind that, how are you going to do this, Amanda? It's always that little talk in my head that I have to kind of push out every time, that makes me stepping forward that much more difficult. Um, and things like I've had, collaborations, and I just have to do certain stories and reels about it. But I don't know if it's myself that kind of pushes it back a little bit. Like I should keep that as a priority, and I've kind of pushed it back, which doesn't help my situation. It's just like all those little things I just pull back a little bit when things are going really well, when I should be focusing on that.
Okay, got it.
That
So
makes
there's a
sense.
big element of if I do this thing, and there's almost like an inner critic part of you that pops in to say, well, can you really do it? Because now the stakes are higher. Like, is that accurate for
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So really, it's less about I'm afraid of things going well. It seems like this part of you is actually concerned about you screwing up on a bigger
Yeah,
stage than things going well.
true.
Okay. So you're like kind of
Yeah.
nodding your head. So like, is that a new realization or like kind of what's
A little
resonating?
bit new. Yeah, that is, yeah, it's a bit newer. I didn't think about it in that way. No.
Okay. So I think that's important because, kind of the words we use shape our experience. So if you're continuously repeating, like, I'm fearful of success, from what you're describing, it's not necessarily fearful of success. It's fearful of my inability to hold something bigger because I'm going to screw it up in some sort of way. And then the fall is going to be way worse from up high than it is from down here.
Definitely that too. I think it's more of, I think I get more of, am I worthy of that? I think that might be more of my blockage.
So am I
Am I
worthy
worthy?
of
Like, am I worthy
success?
to get that far? Mm,
Okay, got it.
that hits me more.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Am I worthy of, so I put it as success, but how would you word it?
Yeah, success.
Okay.
Am I worthy for that? Am I worthy to be that big?
Okay. Well, if you have to question it, what do you think the answer is to this part of you?
Yeah, that's the problem with my inner head. I know I deserve to be there and I can see myself there, but then I also second guess myself.
Right.
It's
So
like
you emotionally,
I've got like two crossroads.
right. So that's the conflict, right? Like intellectually, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm split into two.
Okay. So intellectually, you understand that I deserve this and this doesn't make any sense. But emotionally, I can't actually buy into it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think has more charge with regards to what causes you to act, the thought or the emotion?
I push through the emotion, but emotion's strong. And it's something, we really have to work on because if we don't have both of them, working together, yeah, it's not easy to get where you need to go.
Correct. So basically, even if you do the action to the extent that you have enough willpower to push through the inner conflict. And then it's only a matter of
Yeah.
time before you lose that energy because you mentioned energy was one of those things. It's like if I have to climb a mountain every single time I have to do a simple thing
Yeah.
that moves me in the bigger direction, that's a lot of energy leakages.
Yeah. And as much as I'm as genuine as it can be in my work, when you don't really trust yourself, you can't be 100% genuine. Like I sometimes don't feel that true, genuine feeling when I portray myself because of that.
Okay. So who would you be?
When you see people that have that energy and have, inside they truly believe they're there. It's that nice, that nice calm. You can feel them all collected. Yeah,
Correct.
if you know what I mean. Yeah. I want to feel that way. I just haven't got there yet.
So that really is who you are underneath all of this doubt. Like, do you resonate with that?
Mm,
Okay.
yeah,
So your authentic self is one that doesn't need to try to be confident.
true.
Okay. So it's these layers on top that create the inner conflict that basically stop that from happening.
Yeah. Is it layers on top or layers inside?
Well, I mean, they're all inside, right? Like your authentic
Yeah.
self is going to radiate from the inside out.
True, true. Yeah.
right? So whatever visual you want to use. And
Yeah.
the reason I'm getting at is like you weren't born with the belief that you're not worthy of success.
No, no.
Right. So your truest essence is one doesn't even have to believe it. It just kind of is. Like it is just sure,
Mm.
like let's do this. This sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So those layers on top are the ones that create the conflict and the energy leaks that you're talking about.
True.
Okay. So what lands for you when I reflect that back to you?
I know like a lot of what I feel is definitely stem from childhood that I work on. And I guess that's why when I said that it's, you know, is it the inside? Because I'm just thinking all that energy is just stemmed from the inner childhood.
Correct. And all of those woundings, all of that inner child stuff, which level do you think, like, which level of your identity do you think that operates on? Your conscious mind, your unconscious mind, or your subconscious mind?
Unconscious.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
So when you have that dynamic of like, I intellectually understand this is not real, it's not true, but I can't buy into it emotionally, then everything that's happening and all the blockages that you're experiencing are happening to you either subconsciously with regards to like the emotions you're experiencing or completely unconsciously with regards to like just your nervous system that doesn't have any clear feeling or thought attached to it.
Mm,
So
okay.
again, before I go on, what lands with that?
It's more subconscious, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your attempt so far at resolving this have been what up until this point?
I've definitely gone very far. I guess my way of, I think my way of dealing with a lot of this is I just put myself in the deep end.
Hmm.
Kind of throw myself in the deep end and make myself swim. Um, a lot of the awareness I have already is mostly when I had my first child, I did a lot of studying and research about how childhood trauma affects us. So I guess so I was more aware, so I wouldn't reflect anything on my children. And I definitely feel the confidence and where I am now is because of going through that and having kids.
Okay, perfect. So if you look at that question, right? So it's like, okay, or the line of questioning. So these patterns, like which parts of your identity do they reside in, right? Your conscious mind, your subconscious, or your unconscious. You're like, okay, well, don't think they reside consciously. I think it's more subconscious, unconscious. Okay, yes, true. And so far, what attempts have I made to resolve this? Your answer to that has been, well, deeper awareness, study, and understanding, all of which have gotten you results. I'm not at all discounting any of that because, like I said, there's three layers of your identity, one of which is conscious, and you can do a lot of progress with it, right? But right now, what's being revealed is that in many ways, like what got you here won't get you there, right? Those conscious tools are not going to be the tools that are going to help you with these deeper level um, patterns. So again, before I go on, what lands with that?
No, it's true because I guess that's definitely my roadblock. I've peeled all those layers and I just still have that leftover that leftover subconscious part that I just unable to get rid of.
Right. And it really boils down to like,
My tools, yeah, my tools in my toolbox haven't worked yet.
and listen, you are in a pattern that so many smart, well-meaning people get into, which is kind of this man with the hammer problem.
Mm.
They are smart, they understand things well, they can see all of the connection, they have deep understanding and awareness. But the point is, you can't outthink emotional problems. All of the tools that I have are intellectual tools. I can think about these things, I can understand them, I can journal about them, I can think about, deeper layers of like how these things affected me. I can see it playing out in front of me. I can observe it. Yet I can't seem to change it. Like I know what to do, but I can't seem to do it. I know I shouldn't feel this, but I feel this anyway. Right? Well, if I have a hammer and I'm trying to hammer in a screw, it's not really going to work.
Mm.
Okay. So again, what lands with all of that?
I guess the most thing that pops up is, I guess, to deal with this, you need to let it open and bring it up to get rid of it. Am I avoiding that?
Well, you tell
Just
me. Like,
into
do you
something.
think there's a part
Cover
of you that's avoiding it?
it. Yeah, I guess that's what pops up too, is, you can put intellectual over it, but are you avoiding going through the emotions to let it surface and get rid of it?
Correct. So one part of the next phase of working with the emotions is to develop an emotional language and emotional capacity to work through all of this. The first step of that is, yes, feeling like you don't have to relive all of it, but you definitely have to feel what's under the surface. Okay. That's not an intellectual exercise. That is an experiential exercise. Okay. With that, you also have to know how to reconcile and let go of all of those emotions. Because if they continue to operate on the paradigms that are keeping them stuck right now, and I kind of call this like there's an emotional logic that operates subconsciously that is completely devoid of like cognitive logic. Like it doesn't make
Okay.
sense for me to fear success. Agreed. But if the emotional part of you is operating on a paradigm that says, well, if I risk screwing up when the stakes are high, I'm going to fall even harder. Like that's actually pretty sound logic, even though it's not applicable to where you are now, but it's designed to keep you safe. So as long as that paradigm operates subconsciously, it'll always win. Because like you said, the intellectual energy is always less than the emotional energy. So that's what creates the loop. So anyway, before I go on, what lands with all of this?
All of that.
Okay.
It makes sense. Like it does, it all lands for me, to be honest.
Okay. Perfect. So what are you seeing then as kind of the missing link in the transformation that you need to make?
It is getting my emotions out. I guess I'm still a little stuck of how to go through that process.
Okay. I mean, the short answer to
I
that
guess the
is,
only thing I've really ever done is journaling,
yeah,
but that's about, yeah.
which is fine because that's what I was getting at before, right? Like that is intellectually the hammer that you have. You've gotten really good at it. You've gotten some results with it, right? But it's like, again, how do I outjournal my way through emotions? It's not really going to
Mm.
happen,
No.
right? So in my line of work, I call that basically removing the stress drivers. So all of these patterns of thought, feelings, and actions that currently drive you, usually subconsciously and unconsciously.
Mm.
And when you remove those, what's authentically left over is peaceful fuel. Basically, combinations of thought, feelings, and actions that are completely aligned to how I authentically want to express and enthusiastically want to build the business that ultimately powers the life that I want to live, right? Because that's the inner conflict that you're experiencing. I know I want more things, but these other parts of me keep getting in the way, right?
Yeah.
They're getting in the way because they have very good reasons that have nothing to do with logic to keep you there. when you can feel your way through them, when you can reconcile their way through them, when you can basically delete the paradigms with which they operate in, that's where like what's left over is that aspect of peaceful fuel. So again, what lands when I reflect that back to you?
Look at it all lands and it all makes sense. I just always feel stuck getting to that place. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting to that place.
So you're not alone in this because this is generally where people come to when they end up working with me. Because it's basically like asking, how do I speak a different language that I currently don't speak right now?
Hmm.
Right. So for me, in like the work that I do in the program that I have, that path is not like a linear path. Because there's about 10 different modalities that I use depending on what's needed for the actual transformation, right? So some of it will be, I just need to understand the logic of these emotions and kind of reconcile it internally. For some, I actually need to feel these emotions. For others, like if you're aware of parts work, etc., a lot of the times these parts operate frozen in time. We need to kind of update them like, hey, we're no longer, 8 years old. You can kind of let go and retire, right? And then a lot of it is also nervous system work where you are normalizing and creating safety in being more visible, in charging higher, in going out and being on bigger stages. Like that will freak out your system because it thinks you're in danger. But if you know how to soothe that, if you know what technique to use, then those actual experiences become a lot easier. So again, what kind of lands with all of that?
Definitely nervous system. I mean, that's definitely something I need to work on. And yeah, the little 8-year-old self. The last two, yeah, resonate with me,
Okay.
especially the nervous system.
Okay. And what resonates with that?
Just, I guess that's really how I feel in certain situations, like even a little bit now with my nervous trying to settle it down. But it's, yeah, that I guess is initial thing that surfaces for me. And I try to manage a lot.
Okay. So number one, I appreciate you being vulnerable, expressing that like, okay, I'm actually feeling this stuff right now, right?
Yeah.
So that like I commend you for that. That's not an easy thing to do. Um, how would you feel if we worked on that part right now? Like, is that something that you're okay with, or you're like, I'd just rather keep this intellectual? I'm okay with either.
No, sure, go for it.
Okay, perfect. So if you look at that part of you right now, that is nervous. Like, where might you feel that in your body?
Everywhere actually, but mostly, yeah, mostly my heart center.
Okay, perfect. So if you were to bring your awareness to your heart center, kind of like zoom into that area, okay? And if by zooming in, you begin to ask yourself, like, okay, if this part could talk, what might it say?
Anxiety and being scared.
Hmm. Okay.
I guess scared
Anxious.
of, yeah, anxious of uncertainty.
Hmm. So is that the feeling?
I guess anxious of how I'm perceived.
Okay, perfect.
Mm,
Anything else?
I think mostly that.
Okay. And if
Yeah.
you continue to bring your awareness to that heart center, right, that's saying, okay, well, I'm anxious with regards to how I'm perceived. And you can speak to it directly as if it's almost like a part of you, which it is. You don't have to
Yeah.
speak to it kind of in nebulous terms, but you can actually speak to it directly. So if you speak into it directly, what's it scared is going to happen if you are perceived in a negative way?
I don't think I really care about perceived in a negative way.
Hmm.
I think it's more just letting my true self out.
Okay, perfect. Great observation. And if you
Yeah,
continue to stay,
I'm not really one that I really care what other people think of me. It's more the battle of me letting my full self out.
okay, perfect. So it's important distinction. So
Definitely more, yeah, definitely more internal than, yeah,
perfect.
internal
So
battle.
if you ask that same part of you, kind of continue that line of questioning of, okay, well then what's going to happen if you let your true self out? What's its concern if you're authentically expressed?
Uh, I guess what immediately comes out of my head, which I'm trying to decipher, but is
Just
that
leave it
really who I want
unfiltered.
to be? Yeah, is that really who I want to be?
Okay.
And now I'm just trying to decipher why I would say that. But
So don't worry about figuring it out. Just speak to this part
yeah,
directly. It's actually giving you very good information. So it's not concerned about what other people think of you, how you'll be perceived. It seems like it's more concerned about if I let my true self out, I don't know who I will be. Maybe I don't know if I'll like who's there. So if you ask that, what comes out?
yeah, true.
Okay. So how does it feel now that it's got like sharing that?
I definitely feel more settled. I guess a lot of my, yeah, I guess a lot of my life, especially my childhood, I was I was definitely a people pleaser.
Hmm.
In my household, I was someone that settled everyone down. I did something to make someone else, happy to help someone else. So I was always that person in my household.
Yeah. So very common if the core, let's just say paradigm or belief that this part of you is concerned about is, well, if I let my true self out, I'm not sure who I will be because I've learned to survive and learned that it's safest if I just am a chameleon to the environment around me and give the people around me what they need, because then that's going to ensure nobody blows up at me or I get to stay safe in some sort of way. Does that
Yeah,
resonate with you or no?
no, it does.
Okay, perfect. So right then and there, before even going deeper, you basically have an idea that the emotional paradigm that you're always in conflict with is one that it's not safe to authentically be me. And everything that I want, as far as my business is concerned, and the impact I want to make, is dependent on me being me as loud as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see now why there exists such a big energy leak to get even the smallest things done?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's coming up for you internally as I share all of that?
Um, yeah, well, it's definitely, yeah, you're definitely right on the nail.
Yeah. So,
And I can feel it too. I definitely feel lighter going through this with you.
okay. And again, I do want to acknowledge that, it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do it in this light, which is why, like, that's okay. We don't need to push this any further, but just the emotion that's coming out is very indicative that, okay, we are now moving in a direction of healing, right? And this is exactly the
Yeah.
experience I was telling you about before, where journaling keeps you right up until the doorstep of what you just experienced. which
Mm.
is I actually get to experience and touch that part of me, very likely younger, and not realizing I'm an adult operating in adult scenarios. When you can let go of that emotion, let go of that paradigm, you no longer have to try, then you just get to express.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for allowing yourself to be witness, especially since expression is one of the things that, you're here to heal. Um, I don't want to go like full on deep into this, and I'm not saying I can like eliminate all of this in, one podcast, etc. Um, but I just want to make sure if like on your end, does this feel like you have deeper clarity around this challenge? Like basically,
Yeah, no,
yeah. Okay.
it does. It was really helpful. I guess I was aware of certain things, but I didn't really get to that one one aspect. I was around that aspect, but yeah, definitely hit the nail on the head. That's good.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, well, in that case, again, I just want to acknowledge you for, allowing yourself to be witnessed in this way. Um, and does this feel okay, like to move towards a close for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. So then,
Okay.
floor is yours in that case. Let everybody know, where to find you, who's the best person to find you. Floor is yours for all of that.
Yeah. Best place is either my website or Instagram. So I'm www.restoredhealth.net.au. I am on Instagram, restoredhealth_Sydney. Any women out there that want to optimize their fertility or just balance their hormones, I am there for you. I'm someone who actually listens and takes a lot of time and energy to decipher your blood work as well as looking at your personal self, your lifestyle, your goals and your environmental factors because we are all different people and we are not one cookie cutter box. So here if anyone needs me and yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Amanda, thank you very much for being on, going through this. If you guys saw that stuff, we'll keep that in the show notes. So thank you. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Jasco. Awesome. Have a good day.